You guys hear me okay? I'm just checking in. My computer gave me a warning.
You're live, sir, I think.
And you're hearing me. I'm just double checking that you're hearing me too.
Mhm.
Perfect. I can do that live. It's not a bad thing. Hello, everyone. I'm checking my volume. All right. Welcome, everyone, to the meeting of the K-12 Education Subcommittee of Ways and Means. On this, the 9th day of April, we have one bill to take up today. That would be House Bill 1254. House Bill 1254 had a cross file and came in a rather interesting stance where there were two distinct concepts in the bill. One had to do with service contracts and requirements for having service contracts that are that use services outside of the public schools employees, and the other part had to do with ESPs and professional development of ESPs. One was of greater interest to us than the other, and so the amendment simply takes the bill that has the part that is about, as I call it, procurement, justifying procurement outside. Doesn't mean you can't, it just has justifications, and keeps that and strikes the part of the bill about professional development for ESPs. Not that I don't believe in professional development for ESPs, but it turns out that one had a rather larger fiscal note, and we thought this would be the one that we'd be interested in. There is evidence that we've had some school systems using outside services when perhaps they could have used people in their own employ, or have worked hard to find people in their own employ to do it. I'm not going to name names, but I will tell you it had to do with hiring of school psychologists last year was one particular example. So with that, the amendment simply strike that there are no changes to the content of the bill itself. So I'll take questions on the content of the bill, but I'd also take a motion to sort of focus the bill by removing the second part of the bill. And we don't have Delegate Solomon here for some reason, so I'm going to need some help here.
Delegate Vogel, sir.
Yeah, Vogel. I have a friend named Joe Solomon, and that's why I do that all the time. So we don't have Delegate Vogel here today. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
Delegate Miller, fighting off a sneeze there. Bless you.
I have questions on the bill, so however you wanna, or on the part that's left of the bill,
Yeah,
so
well,
whenever.
we haven't removed the other part. So why don't I get a motion on the
Yep.
amendment to make the bill singular and in focus?
Move favorable.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a proper second. All in favor of amending the bill to be the part of the bill that now is titled Service Contracts. Please raise your hands. Need some hands. There we go. And there he is. He's got the camera on. Great. All right. So now we've amended the bill, and now we can talk about the bill. And Delegate Miller, you had a question.
Yes, so can you go over service contracts for, like, what all does that cover?
You mean, in other words, what kind of contracts will we be talking about? I mean, I can give you a couple of examples. Lots of school systems hire out private bus services to do their bus work for them. And that one wouldn't be in any danger here, okay? Because they have to talk about the resources they have available, why they can't do it. They're really just justifying if they're reaching out to an outside organization. But it would also apply to and might impact if a school system said, well, we need school psychologists and we need them now. We're going to reach out and hire school psychologists from a private organization that supplies them or has people who qualify. They then need to show a couple of things, among them that there's need in this case, but also that doing this will save them money. There's a state sort of standard when other state agencies reach out beyond that they have to show that that would represent a savings of 20% or more if they indeed engaged in this. I don't know, Alistair, there might be a few other things that you want to toss in there.
Sure. So there's a blanket preference when state agencies are doing contracting for services that they consider using state employees to perform those services. This is in the state personnel and pensions article, and the preference has some provisions that explicate the way that the preference works, which is that you should try to get someone who is in the local, who's a state employee if you can, but if you will have large cost savings of 20% or more, for contracting with someone outside of the state, then you're able to do it. So this bill is just modeled based on the state existing policy, and it's a similar concept applied to local boards of education.
Okay, and I understand that, but I would say that definitely school systems are definitely different than state agencies, and we're dealing with people and children. We have critical shortage areas. We have a lot of different service contracts that that might be needed very expediently done, and if we don't have any safeguards around that. I am very uncomfortable with the language and the current form of this bill. I would love to hear from either Mabe or Pazam on their thoughts about this part of it, but I am definitely not comfortable moving forward, you know, based upon my 8 years of experience on a school board and what that could possibly mean as far as delays and issues that would affect our you know, their ability to serve kids. So
Okay,
that I have a lot of concerns about it. So
okay, let's go ahead. I see Mabe, and then after that, State Department is here as well as MSEA. Um, I think that there's a couple people here that I'm not sure
Yeah,
who
this
they
is
represent.
Jess from.
But let's go with Jessica Goff from Mabe, since that's what the delegate asked for.
Yeah, I'm in transit, so I'm not on camera. But yes, we do agree with the concerns related to the service contract provisions. We initially supported the provisions of the bill related to the professional development, but not the service contracts, because again, we had similar concerns related to basically the bottleneck that this would create anytime that a school system wanted to enter into these sort of service contracts, having to go through this this process. So we do share those concerns that Delegate Miller raised.
Okay. Now, so at the same time, then the group that's interested in taking a look at this, I'm going to go to Jessica Cook from MSEA and let her chat about why she sees it as significant for us to do this.
Everyone. Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity to discuss this today. So our interest in having these protections put in place is that this is not a prohibition on outsourcing positions. It is making sure that the districts are doing their due diligence to be able to hire from in-house to be able to have school employees fill positions. So this is also part of the Education Support Professionals Bill of Rights campaign that we've been working on for years. This is one of the tenets of that, is to be able to protect against privatization because of the impacts that that has on communities and school employees.
Thank you. And finally, just in case, although it's likely that they'll run down the middle a bit, Laurel Crossley, do you want to add or subtract anything from the State Department on this?
Sure, Mr. Chair. So thank you, everyone. Yes, I think our concerns have been pretty much voiced on this call as well. Delegate Miller spoke to some of them, and then Mabe, we did note, of course, in our letter that this would just represent a new administrative and auditing function with no existing workflow infrastructure at MSDE to help. Of course, it doesn't mandate that we look at every single report from, or like every single study conducted by the county board, but it would certainly necessitate some level of auditing that doesn't currently exist at the department.
Okay, thanks. All right. So Delegate Miller's expressed concerns. I'm willing to listen to more, or if someone wants to make a motion on the bill, I'll take that as well.
Move the bill. Have we moved the amendments?
We have the amendments just removed the part of the bill that was was the part about professional development that wasn't, and we did move it and remove them.
Sorry, I'm late.
The rest of the bill exists clean. So you moved it. Delegate Pastor, are you signaling a second?
No, I'm signaling that I couldn't get the hand up. That I
Okay.
have some questions.
Okay,
as
but
well.
okay, but do I have a second
I'll
on the motion?
second for discussion. I'll
Okay,
second.
there we go. We got the bill moved and seconded, and Delegate Pasteur.
Okay, I want to just sort of piggyback on what both said as with Delegate Miller and I know Delegate Patterson, having sat on the board, I've seen both situations where you need to make some emergency decisions. So I keep looking at this bill. Is there something in the bill that says if there's an emergency situation, this is what you do? But by the same token, we want to see, number two, if we can pull from inside, and I want to add a third, which I think is in the bill, that we need to take a look at whether there's something else that could be done as opposed to what is being promoted to come to the contracts committee, or how LEA would handle it, or school board would handle it, so that something else could be done versus what is being prescribed as needing an outside contract. So three things. And so I'm not real clear, as the word being used, comfortable at this point, unless someone can show me those things, that we do have some other options and remedies for if it's emergency, and if it isn't, making sure that the contract really is needed, especially if we have to go outside.
Okay, so Delegate Vogel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And this Delegate Pastor or Delegate Miller, can you all just provide an example of what some of those emergency situations would be that would be that responding to would be restricted by this bill?
For me, it would be anything that's in, especially our critical shortage areas. It would be anything like if you do have, a lot of times with bus drivers, there's a bus driver shortage right now. So if you did have to, if you suddenly had people that weren't qualified, we've actually had situations where our assistant superintendent had to drive buses. So if there's like some kind of critical shortage where you're not getting enough qualified applicants for things, and then, anything that if we're talking, are we talking maintenance service contracts? What kind of, when it says service contract, that's very vague in my terms. So what other things? We have a lot of areas in maintenance where you might have some emergency situations that might come up. So with the vague language of that, under what qualifies under that, without me being able to see a list, I don't have, I could give you more specifics if I had an exact list of what it is, but, again, we're making the state law. If you would want to do something like this, I would actually look more into doing it as a pilot program with a county that wanted to figure out exactly the logistics, particularly what MSDE said, the logistics of how this would even work, and can you tell me what kind of timeline that you're talking about, what time frame that would, a Board of Ed would have to go through and a school system would have to go through to even fulfill what we're trying to do? How long would it take? Like, I don't know those answers either. So that's why I'm a very, very large no on this one.
Delegate Vogel, did you get an answer to your question on that?
I did. Oh,
I think she might still be
Oh,
listening.
he said both of us, so.
Okay.
Oh, Delegate
yes,
Pastor, would you
Delegate.
like to supply something?
Yes, maintenance. Now that could be an emergency situation. And we might not, depending on what the issue is, have anyone who is on staff regularly who could handle the issue. So you'd have to go outside. A contract would have to be effected quickly. So you don't have time. So it would be that. Now, certainly, whether you're going to have electric buses versus non-electric buses, and going into contracts, I've seen things where it's a matter of, I'll say, athletic issues, and that's not an emergency. So we have time to see whether that is something that is of a critical nature, or if there's another way we can do what is necessary. So I would like to see something that gives us in it all of those what ifs. What if that really is an emergency? What do we do? And if I've missed it, Mr. Chair, please show me and help us with that. Where there's an emergency, what do you do? Otherwise, how do you handle a situation?
I'm going to ask Alistair to weigh in on something here. If you look at the bill, there's nothing that says that you can't go forward. It just says that you have to make certain reports in this case. I don't believe that, and Alistair, correct me if I'm wrong, I was looking for the language that would do it, and I don't think it does. That would allow the State Department to say, no, you can't do that. You haven't, you've given us information, but we judge, no, you can't do that. You want to help me with that?
Sorry. So,
Can I just?
yeah, I think,
I'm sorry.
sure. Go ahead, Delegate. Sorry.
Go ahead, Delegate Vogel.
I was just
while he's hunting around.
Yeah, well, while he's looking, I'm looking at the bill right now, and on page 2, it says the county board shall submit a demonstration that the county board has taken formal and positive steps to consider alternatives to the service contract. So I'm assuming that in the case of an emergency, an alternative there might not be an alternative in the situations that were outlined. Maybe Delegate Pester, to your point, if there is a maintenance emergency, right? There aren't alternatives to the service contract, meaning that under this law, that wouldn't necessarily be an issue. Am I interpreting that correctly, Alistair?
Yeah, so I
Like exactly
want to
what
just
you-
take a step back and this is me. I think I'm right here, but people on this call who know more than I can definitely step in if you guys would like to defer to them. But I believe that county boards of education are subject to procurement law in general as units of state government, and there are like pretty stringent and like well established procurement laws for what happens in cases of emergency. And you don't have to follow the normal procurement process when there's an emergency situation. There's a particular set of standards that kicks into effect in that situation. So I think that would probably cover this, but I would defer to someone with better expertise if I'm wrong here.
No, I mean, yeah, I think, I don't know if that's true. Again, I'm going to say that this bill says things that you need to do. It doesn't say that, it doesn't indicate judgment by the State Department. It just says you have to give it to them. They have an audit, but it doesn't anywhere say that the State Department say, well, you can't do that. It doesn't support.
Yeah, they're required to make a good faith effort to employ, and the audit is made public if they have failed. That's the penalty, I think.
The Delegate Roberson, question or statement.
Yeah, I know, Doug. So we're trying to put this in the same posture as SB 904. Am I correct?
Well, no, that's
Oh.
not correct. SB 904 was sent over to us with the other part of the bill in it. That part of the bill is a little more expensive than this part of the bill. I like them both, but we had to consider the fiscal implications of the second part of the bill.
Oh, okay, got it. All right, because I'm missing the amendment that we're proposing. So
The amendment just stops this bill on page 3 of the reprint at line 15.
Oh,
Everything
okay.
after that's gone, because that's all the part about professional development. So that's
Okay.
all that's left is the part on outside service procurement.
Okay, thank you.
Certainly. Kelly Miller, you're back up again.
Of course.
The lineup always
Um,
comes back around to a battery after a while. So there you go.
So when I would like some kind of timeline on what this was happening, if you're saying that it doesn't prevent them from doing this, it looks to me like there's a significant timeline to it, which is what we were talking about, especially in those critical shortage areas. With a service contract, it says so, but when they're seeking to enter into, and yes, boards have a very established procurement process that they go through. So I would like to know what you see as a timeline for all of these things to happen, because they actually have to do calculations, and you can't do calculations after the fact. of already hiring someone. It also says something about you have to do a formal plan of assistance for all school employees adversely impacted. So those are all things that take a lot of time, and I would like to know what a timeline, a reasonable, regular timeline for these to happen if we are, mandating by state law that they do all of this, especially as they're already bound to a lot of procurement laws, and they do have a lot of transparency built within the board process of itself.
I think it's curious that you bring up the thing about affecting other employees. If they are doing some kind of hiring that is affecting other employees, that's where this is particularly important
Well,
because
yeah,
they
and it
may,
says about a plan, a
yeah.
formal plan. So I'm
Right.
not bringing it up. I'm just reading what's in the
No,
bill.
but you referenced it, and I'm going to talk about it for a second. I'm going to say that this is one of the things that concerns us is that sometimes counties will enter into a contract with someone else because they feel like it's cheaper than using their own employees to do it or hiring their own employees to do it. Ones who, by the way, are protected by collective bargaining. And the general finding is often that when they do that, initially it looks like a good deal, but it doesn't work out very well for them often. And it especially doesn't work out well for the employees, either the ones who are being displaced or not hired formally by the county. And so, and I think that's one of the focuses here, that we're concerned about those groups of employees. That's why that's there. Now, as to the other thing, as to the timeline, I don't believe there is a timeline here. If you want to put a time constraint in, I suppose we could do that, but I think that would be more restrictive and not less restrictive.
Well, that was my point, is I would want to know if we are mandating this in state law and we're talking about different situations, or that you can do it in an emergency situation, because it looks to me like you have to go through all of these exercises before you finalize the contract. And so if you have to do that, I think it's reasonable for us to look at what the impact is on an actual school system and what the timeline would be when we're making these decisions. And you did have another interesting point, when you're talking about preclude them from hiring, where is that in here? Because I understand about protecting employees, but that doesn't mean that yes, a lot of times it is.
Well, they have to either agree to protect their employees and then hire other people because that's okay, or they have to
Well,
then
you
think,
also
well,
said
maybe
about
we should hire
hiring
the
other
employees that we
employees.
have. Mhm.
Hiring
Yeah.
other employees. And yes, so sometimes when you do contract things out, yes, because it is less expensive, but you haven't hired those employees yet, so they're not impacted. So,
Well, then they wouldn't be the ones in that case.
well, I'm just repeating what you said.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Delegate Vogel, question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm seeing this as more of a transparency bill. Am I correct in that? Like, I don't
I
see
feel
there.
that way, yes.
I don't see and Delegate Miller, I see the question that you're asking, and I too would be concerned if that's the way that this bill is written. But what I'm seeing now is that really this is just an audit that will be available to the public once the audit is conducted. But I'm not seeing that before the hiring takes place that the audit needs to be completed. That I don't see that in the bill. So I really just see this as an effort to promote transparency in procurement.
Yeah, I would hop
Page 2, line
on
1.
that. I would hop on
Page
that
2,
and say
line
that
1.
it looks like also that it makes the county be reflective as they move into this. So that they do it also, with an eye toward, are they really saving money? Because that's part of what's in here also. Will they really save enough money to make it worthwhile?
But we're not adding an approval step in the procurement
I
process.
agree, it's not there. It doesn't
Yeah.
say that.
Okay.
I agree.
Yeah, it does. It says that seeks to enter into, they shall submit a demonstration. So yes, that would be a step of action.
But
If you're
there's no
seeking to enter
judgment.
into,
There's no judgment there, though. They can't say, okay, it's not good. It doesn't say that there's going to be a judgment on what you have to give the information, but there's nothing in the bill that says that they can deny based on what they've seen. It's not there.
but they have to go through all of the steps, is what I'm saying. And there's a timeline for
think
that.
we
And there's
agree
a
on that.
reasoning process for that. And then there's an audit of that. So I would say there's definitely steps that you would have to
Alistair, is
go
it your
through.
opinion that all that has to be completed before they begin?
So I think by saying a county board that seeks to enter into a service contract shall submit to the department this information suggests that you do that before you seek to enter into the service contract. And I don't think the audit happens before you seek to enter. I think the audit is at MSD's discretion after the fact that these contracts have been negotiated. I've been informed, I should just say, that a lot of from what I hear, again, sorry, not at all an expert in this procurement stuff, and apologies if I'm giving poor information here. A lot of counties have existing procurement setups that are very similar and have collectively bargained for a lot of things of this nature. So I think what Delegate Vogel is saying, that this is more of a transparency bill, is probably on point.
All right, my hand is up. I
Yes,
simply want
could
to
you
say,
please, thank you, Delegate Patterson. Thank you.
thank you very
That's
much.
coming to you.
In listening to the discussion, I'm referencing my 12 years on the Board of Education in Charles County. And I think when listening and working with the current board members, parents and the communities want transparency. And they want to make sure that the dollars that are allocated, because counties give a lot of money to public education as well as the state. And so this bill to me is simply a step forward in terms of meeting the needs and making sure that the dollars that are so critical are actually utilized. We have issues right now in our own county with some contracts that are being granted without any accountability associated with them. So I think we're moving in the right step here.
Real quickly, because we've talked about who it affects, I want to go back to Jessica Cook from MSEA to comment on where you think this applies for me, please.
Sorry, having a technical issue.
We got you.
Thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to discuss the bill further. So what we are really envisioning this to look like is that it does not impact existing contracts. So as the chair mentioned, it is not going to impact contracts that exist with busing companies. What we are really trying to do is ensure that if services are being hired outside of the school system, such as food service, such as custodial staff, that there is first an attempt to hire as school employees before pushing out to do any sort of outside subcontracting, as has been seen in other parts of the country in other districts, is that what happens is that you have the local employees who are there who would have been school employees. If they are hired as subcontractors, then you have wages being driven down. You have individuals being hired without benefits. We are really trying to protect our folks and have folks come into the school system to be able to have a higher wage and to be able to have benefits. Does that answer your question, Chair?
Can't hear you.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Delegate Pastor, please.
Yeah, what Jessica just said narrows this for me. I just always want to make sure that those employees that are in the system are covered, that the planning, and I've seen times when, and I'll say in my situation where it was the contracts committee and things were just decided on there. So if this is really about making sure that on every level we have gone through everything to make sure, is that what I'm hearing, Jessica? Yes, that we are going to recognize our current employees, our system employees, that if for whatever reason we have to go out, we're going to make sure that those people have been told that this is going to happen. This is why, some plan for them, that at the center of this is about our people who are already in the system, and that we're not just arbitrarily laying out contracts for whatever the reasons are. Forget transparency. I'm talking about honoring and taking care of our employees who are already there. Am I hearing that correctly? I mean, transparency is important, but that's
And-
for the other
and
people. Is that
Jessica-
right, Jessica?
Jessica, you can answer that question, and Alistair can also talk about it in terms of the writing of the bill. But let's go to Jessica and see if she wants to just say yes. That isn't it. So I don't see her online anymore. Oh, there you are.
I
You're,
see
you're,
her.
you're pictured, right? Okay, got you. Jessica, you're up. I'm having trouble hearing you. Are you talking? Okay.
Just give a big nod or thumbs up or something.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, thank you, Jessica.
Isn't that so? Okay, we got it.
All right.
Delegate Miller, I see your hand still up. I don't know if that's from before, if you have
Oh, no, still have more
yeah,
questions.
a
So
third
what?
bite of the apple.
Yeah, what I heard didn't talk a lot about the current employees. It actually talked about possible future employees and make sure as many of those as possible are school system employees versus contracted employees, which is a completely different situation than transparency within a system as it is, or protecting or watching out for current employees. Those are two very different things. And so I don't see that piece as transparency. I was wondering if Mabe could answer Delegate Ebersol's question about where they see this fitting in as well, or the impact of timelines.
So I see Sam, who I think of as the primary, but if I see Nicola also there. So do you guys want to weigh in on that?
Hey, folks, and thanks. And can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. I mean, the way that I read this bill is that it's any contract across any service at any time is going to be pre-reviewed by MSDE, and that every school system has to come up with a plan and provide a plan to MSDE to anticipate whether that will impact any current employees. I think, as written very broadly, it could mean, it could have potential unintended consequences, but that, and I guess to my good friend Jessica's point, I don't necessarily see this bill as one that is giving the right of first refusal to current employees for certain areas of service. I see it as sort of an extra step in a procurement, which doesn't necessarily accomplish that goal.
Here's your answer. All right. Are there other questions at this time? Okay. So we have the bill in front of us with a favorable motion in a second. We don't have any further discussion. I'm willing to take a vote on it right now if we'd like.
Mr. Chair, I almost choked on a cough drop during this meeting.
I see. So
In
you're
case-
back. Thank
I'm
God.
back. I'm okay.
Thank God we have you.
Yeah, I've already moved the bill, so I think we're good on
Okay,
that.
yeah, we have the bill motioned and seconded. All in favor of the bill as we have it in front of us, raise your hands, please. 1, 2, 3, 4. And those against? 1 and 2. 4 to 2 is a majority of the 7, and so we're going to go ahead and bring this bill to committee for a vote.